Hello everyone, welcome to my video of my top 10 best movies of 2017. My name is Diego Coya. I run a channel here on YouTube that consists of a lot of podcasts, but today we're going to be doing something a little different. Today I'm going to discuss with you my top 10 favorite movies of 2017. 2017 is almost over. I can't believe it. This year really flew by. And I got to tell you, 2017 was an awesome year for films. It was honestly really hard for me to make this list because there's a lot of films that I loved. But before I tell you what my top 10 favorite movies of the year are, there are a couple of things I want to say. First thing is first, I did not see every movie in 2017. I only saw 80 films this year, so I couldn't see every movie I can. So out of those 80 movies, I'm just picking my top 10 favorites. Second thing is that this is my list. Keep in mind that these are only my 10 favorites. So if there's a movie here that you find overrated or that you hated, that's completely fine. I respect your opinion. I just ask that you respect mine. And last but not least, I do have honorable mentions because, like I said, 2017 was a great year for film. And there are just some movies that came out that I really love but didn't quite make the top 10 list. So I'll start with the honorable mentions. My honorable mentions are, I have 5. Detroit, Brigsy Bear, Wind River, John Wick Chapter 2, and the Lego Batman movie. All great films, but did not make my top 10 list because, in my opinion, there are 10 films that I liked even better. So, with that being said, let's get started on the countdown. Number 10. My number 10 is, in my opinion, the funniest movie to come out in 2017, and that is The Disaster Artist. The Disaster Artist is a film that had me laughing consistently throughout its runtime. It also features the best performance of James Franco's career. And not only is he the main actor of this film, but he also directed the film as well. This film also has great supporting performances from Dave Franco, Seth Rogen, Jackie Weaver, Alison Brie, and a lot of other actors that have cameos that I won't spoil in case you haven't seen it. What I love so much about this movie wasn't just how funny it was, but how much heart it has. This movie was inspirational, it's emotional, it's an interesting biography, and it conveys the message of pursuing your dreams extremely well. This movie balances comedy and drama so perfectly that it makes it for one of the best written films of the year. And for me personally, it's the best film by A24 easily. So The Disaster Artist is my number 10. Please see it if you haven't. It's in theaters now. Number 9. My number 9 is my pick for the best animated film of 2017, and that is Coco. Coco is yet another home run from Pixar. Coco was outstanding. This is honestly a very beautiful film. And I'm not just talking about in terms of its animation or how it looks visually, because it is beautiful in those regards, but it's beautiful in terms of its storytelling, the characters, the direction, the music. The music in this movie is wonderful. And the song, Remember Me, better win Best Original Song at the Oscars because it is the best song of the year. This movie is about family, it's about culture, it's about life, it's about death, and it really, tackles those themes so maturely. And to me, the best animated films are the ones that everyone loves, whether you're 7 years old or you're in your 80s. There's something in this movie that you're going to relate to and you're just going to appreciate. And this is a film that I will buy on Blu-ray and watch again and again. This is from Lee Unkrich, the director of Toy Story 3 and Coco. He made 2 animated masterpieces as far as I'm concerned, and I cannot wait to see what he does next. Coco, I hope it wins Best Animated Film at the Oscars, and if you haven't seen it, please see Coco. It's outstanding. All right, number 8. My number 8 is the newest film by Guillermo del Toro, and that is The Shape of Water. I am genuinely surprised that this is only my number 8 because I really love this movie. This is the second best film by Guillermo del Toro, right behind Pan's Labyrinth. This movie takes place in the 1960s, a time where homophobia and racism was very common. And what I will say about the story is that it involves a mute woman who forms this weird relationship with this creature. And that's all I'm going to say. So essentially, it's like Beauty and the Beast for adults. What I will say is that from the opening scene till the end credits, I was so captivated in the story. From its Oscar-worthy performances from Sally Hawkins, Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, and Octavia Spencer, its masterful direction, the A-plus material in terms of its production design, the cinematography, the visual effects. And if I'm being honest, this is probably my favorite romance film of all time. This is a romance film at its core, but there are some scenes where they're pretty violent. Like, I feel like there's one scene that's going to upset a lot of people. No spoilers, of course. But this is a really beautiful film as well. I loved it from beginning to end. It's so great. I really am expecting Oscar nominations across the board for this one. If you haven't seen The Shape of Water, I can't praise it enough. Please go see it. It is my number 8. My number 7 is another film that I expect will have a lot of Oscar nominations across the board, and that is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is a phenomenal film that is easily one of 2017's best. What I love so much about this movie is the screenplay. This is my pick for the best screenplay of the year. This movie is very heavily reliant on dialogue. Now, there are some scenes that, violence occurs and, some crazy things happen for sure, but a lot of the time it's very reliant on a dialogue, and the dialogue here is amazing. I can literally hear characters from this movie talk for like 2 hours straight, and I'll still be so invested because the dialogue is so thought-provoking and it's so genius. It kind of reminded me of a Quentin Tarantino screenplay in all the best ways. This movie it's a crime story, but it's really about the characters, and a lot of these characters are very flawed. They're pretty fucked up, to be honest, but you understand where they're coming from. Not that you necessarily condone their behavior, but you understand why they are the way they are. It was so investing. When the movie was done, I wanted like another 10 minutes because I was so into the story. This is a movie that I think will have a lot of Oscar nominations across the board, particularly for the screenplay. I hope it wins Best Original Screenplay. And Frances McDormand, who won the Oscar for Fargo, honestly, she is better in this movie, and that's saying a lot. She is so great in this. And Sam Rockwell is so good. Woody Harrelson. And Martin McDonagh is a director that you need to be looking out for, because with In Bruges, Seven Psychopaths, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, he's proven to be one of the absolute best directors working today. And I think this is his best film easily. Go see Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's phenomenal. It's not Oscar bait at all, I promise. And it's so good. It also balances comedy and drama really well, more so than A Disaster Artist. So yeah, that's my number 7. My number 6 is the most surprising film of the year for me. Now, I was looking forward to this movie, but when I saw the trailers, I kind of feeling I was going to like it, but I didn't think I was going to love it as much as I did. And that is Get Out. Get Out is by far the best horror film of the year. Movies like It, Annabelle Creation, Gerald's Game, y'all need to go take a seat because Get Out is where it's at. Get Out is so thought-provoking. It's brilliant. It manages to keep you captivated throughout its runtime, and consistently you're surprised by the twists and turns that is within the film. I thought the film, even though it had its comedic moments, I mean, Golden Globes is not a comedy, for God's sake. It's nominated for Best Comedy at the Golden Globes, but it's more of a horror film, and I really thought that it was just genius in terms of how he portrayed how racism is like, and just a look on society. Honestly, it didn't beat you over the head at all. In fact, a lot of the subtleness in this movie was really clever. It's a very clever, a very original film that took me by surprise, and I hope that this movie gets some Oscar love because it's truly great. And it's not to mention it's one of the best directorial debuts of all time. I mean, Jordan Peele directed this movie, and he's hilarious. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that he made a movie like this, that's just, man, Jordan Peele, congratulations, man. I can't wait to see what you do next, and I definitely recommend Get Out. And one last thing, this movie absolutely gets better with multiple viewings. So, yeah, Get Out is 100% one of my favorite movies of the year, and it is my number 6. All right, now we're in the top 5. My number 5 is the epic conclusion to one of the best trilogies of all time, War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, I know a lot of people have this in their top 3 or perhaps even number 1. To be honest, it's my number 5, and the truth is there's just 4 movies I prefer, but it doesn't take away how epic this movie was. One thing I really loved about this movie, and I applaud Matt Reeves for it, is that this movie doesn't really focus so much on like the war itself or the action. It really focuses on the emotional conflict between the apes and the humans. And it's a slow film, and I'm not saying slow as in like it's boring or it drags. Like, no, it takes its time. But to me, the pacing was so perfect. A lot of the complaints I've heard was that there was not enough action in it. But honestly, it didn't need the amount of action it had because it was so investing and so emotional and so well realized. And Andy Serkis, Academy, for God's sake, please give him some recognition. He is phenomenal in this movie. Arguably his best performance, if I'm being quite honest. It's an emotional ride. It's really dark. It's devastating, but it's awesome. It's epic. And this is one of the very few trilogies where each film gets better. In my opinion, this is the best film out of the 3. War for the Planet of the Apes, it's epic. The visual effects are breathtaking, to say the least. And yeah, War for the Planet of the Apes is my number 5. My number 4 is a film that, man, I really love, and that is Baby Driver. Baby Driver is a film that is such a damn blast. It's so entertaining. It's so rewatchable, and the way it incorporates music and the action scenes is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in a film. I'm being 100% honest. The soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks ever, if I'm being honest. Like, even if I go running or if I'm, commuting to school, I'll listen to the soundtrack and I'll feel so hyped because of how great the songs are. And it's like different kind of songs too, it's like a variety. It's different things. Anyway, the performances are absolutely incredible. You have Ansel Elgort, Kevin Spacey. Okay, I know Kevin Spacey is going through a lot of sexual assault allegations, so just keep in mind that I'm talking about his performance, not him as a person. His performance was great. Anyway, we have Jon Hamm, Jamie Foxx, Lily James. The love story was really charming. It was romantic, and the movie is honestly, it's a ride. It's an experience. That's what this movie is. And I feel like a lot of these movies on my list are experiences, at least for me. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. It's a heist film, and it's so much fun. Man, I love this movie. If you haven't seen Baby Driver, please go see it. I have it on Blu-ray. It's so great. It is my number 4. My number 3. Okay, well, before I get started on that, let me just say this. These next 3 movies were very hard for me to rank. If I could, I would honestly give these 3 a one-way tie, because to me, these 3 movies are some of the best films to come out this decade, and they're all 6 out of 5 movies. I just love these movies so much, so I had to rank them, unfortunately. Yeah, so this is how I rank them. All right, with that being said, let's get started. Number 3. My number 3 is, wow, a film that I can't praise enough, and that is Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049 is, in my opinion, one of the best sequels ever made. This is a sequel to the 1982 science fiction classic, Blade Runner, and somehow it manages to be even better than the original. It takes what's great about the first one and expands upon it, and it continues the story in such a phenomenal way. As I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, Denis Villeneuve and the screenwriters to this movie, they're genius. How do they think of just continuing the story in this certain way? And not only is the story so phenomenal, and the characters, and it's a 2-hour and 45-minute movie, and honestly, if I could have watched the movie even longer, because I was so invested in the story. The visual effects are absolutely phenomenal. The music from Hans Zimmer and Benjamin, oh my God, I forgot his name, but I apologize, but the score is awesome. Every technical aspect is amazing. And Roger Deakins, look, the 2017 had a lot of movies which had great cinematography, but to me, Roger Deakins deserves to finally win the Oscar for Blade Runner 2049, because the cinematography is absolutely incredible to look at. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to really talk about this movie because the trailers made the story vague, and they did that on purpose. But if you haven't seen Blade Runner 2049 or the original Blade Runner, see them. They're not action movies. Keep that in mind. They're more like science fiction, detective kind of stories. So watch Blade Runner 2049. It's one of my absolute favorite films. Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite directors working today, with movies like Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, Arrival, and now Blade Runner 2049. I think this is his best film, to be honest. I can't talk about this enough. Like, talking about it kind of makes me want to put it high on my list, but there are 2 films I prefer. So Blade Runner 2049 is my number 3. And just 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Okay, number 2. My number 2 is a superhero film. Now, 2017 was a really good year for superhero films. We had Wonder Woman, we had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we had Spider-Man Homecoming, and we had Thor Ragnarok. So, pretty good year for comic book films, right? But to me, none of those films came even close to the awesomeness of Logan. Logan's my number 2. This is truly, and I mean truly, the best comic book film I have seen since The Dark Knight. Logan was so brutal. It was an emotional ride. It was so investing throughout its 2 hours and 17-minute runtime. And it's a film that honestly gets better with each viewing. This movie, like War for Planet of the Apes, does have a little bit of a slow pace, but it's never boring or drags. Like, you're just so in the ride with these characters. And Daphne Keane, Patrick Stewart, and basically everyone just gives an incredible performance. And the violence is awesome. I mean, keep in mind that I don't just love this movie because it's rated R. I mean, their R rating was very beneficial, and yes, it's admittedly, it's very cool that you see Wolverine, you know, going all out and doing whatever. But honestly, Logan is a film that really, it's so focused on being its own thing, not focused on setting up universes or you know, trying to set up a sequel or anything. From beginning to end, it's its own thing. And 2049 too. But Logan, you know, just I was so caught by surprise by how much I really loved it. I mean, it was one of my most anticipated films of the year, but the fact that it ended up being my number 2. Like when I saw it in March, I said this is a guarantee in my top 5 of the year. And sure enough, it ended up being my number 2. So Logan is absolutely incredible. It's a brilliant superhero film. I kind of feel bad saying it's a superhero film because honestly, it's a Western, it's a drama, and this deserves to be nominated for Best Picture. I mean, I know everyone says Wonder Woman should be nominated for Best Picture. For me, this movie is the one that deserves to be nominated for Best Picture. And Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, I hope to get nominated at the Oscars. Will it happen? You know what? Probably not, but they should because their performances are absolutely brilliant. So Logan is my number 2. I absolutely love Logan, and I have it on Blu-ray as well. All right, number 1, the moment y'all been waiting for. My favorite movie of 2017 can be described in 4 words. In Nolan, we trust, because Dunkirk is fucking incredible. I loved Dunkirk. Dunkirk is my number 1 favorite movie of 2017. Dunkirk is a masterpiece. It is one of the best World War II films you will ever see. I love this movie so much that I saw it 3 times in the theaters. 3. The first time I saw it in IMAX, and it was an experience I will never forget because this is like one of the most intense films I've ever seen. Like, especially in IMAX, when you hear the sounds and everything, like your heart starts beating so fast. And this movie is less than 2 hours long. It's an hour and 47 minutes, but throughout its runtime, you're so into it. Like, I heard some people say it was boring. How is it boring? Like, something is always constantly going on. And the way it tells its story, because this is based on a true story of the Dunkirk evacuation. And I was ignorant. I didn't know what the story was. But this movie, it's honestly a history lesson. And this movie has 3 storylines that, you know, they all eventually, you know, become one. And the way how Nolan tells the story, it's incredible, honestly. Every story was just investing. Now, the main complaint I've heard was that it's very simplistic in its character development. Let me say this. This was not the point of the movie, ladies and gentlemen. Christopher Nolan himself has even said that he wanted to make the movie solely about the Dunkirk evacuation, and that is it. The event, and that's all. And you know what? Even without the character development, I was very much rooting for the character to survive because it was a horrifying situation. So it's a history lesson. It's a movie about heroism. It's an incredible film with some phenomenal cinematography, a great score by Hans Zimmer. I mean, the score from Hans Zimmer, like in the movie Inception, it's like its own character, and that's what I really loved. Dunkirk is an experience that I'll never forget. It's my favorite movie of 2017. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this do know this, but Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of all time. I promise it's not the reason why it's my number 1. I mean, yes, I'm a Nolan fanboy. I embrace it, but I really do love this movie the best. And like I said, it was between this, Logan, and Blade Runner 2049. I really love them all, but if I had to pick the one out of them all, it's Dunkirk, and it's because of the rewatchability. It's how well made it is. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If Nolan is not nominated for Best Director at the Oscars, I'm not watching the Oscars. Not watching them. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 favorite movies of 2017. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, I haven't seen everything. I know there's a lot of movies that are out that have gotten high praise, but they're not playing near me, or I just did not have the time due to school and work. But these are my 10 favorites. I'm very happy with the list. What are your guys' favorites? Let me know in the comment section down below, what are your favorite movies of the year? If there's a film that you love that didn't make my list, I apologize. You know, like I said, this is my list. So everyone's going to have a different list. That's what's great about doing this list. So yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will be doing a top 10 worst list as well. That should be fun. I don't know when that's going to be released just yet, but this is the top 10 best movies of 2017 by me. So please subscribe to this channel, share this video, and yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And until next time, I'm Diego Coya. Stay classy. I will see you guys next time. Bye.